Hooray. Perfect. Ugh. Great. Like, just let it all hang out today. Rich.
That's fine. That's fine. Jack, it's here. It's finally here after years. Yes, years of bitching and whining and moaning. My long-term plan has finally paid off, and Vanquish, the 2010 third-person shooter made by Platinum Games, has been released on PC, Jack.
Woo!
It's amazing.
Woo!
This is a monumental day for me.
All right, so for those people who have never heard or played Vanquish, why don't you describe it real quick?
Vanquish is a third-person shooter, and like your normal third-person shooters, there's cover, and you can take cover behind the cover, and there's context-sensitive actions, and you can pop up and shoot things.
Sure, and it all takes place in this kind of techno-rific future where you, most of the game, in fact, all the game takes place on a space station.
But more importantly than that,
Yeah.
Vanquish, takes your normal third-person shooter and it subverts it, Jack. It turns it on its fucking head.
What?
Vanquish puts an emphasis on fucking movement. Fucking movement. I know one of the inspirations for the game was actually like a bullet hell style shmup.
Sure.
So that, instead of playing defensively and hiding, Vanquish wants you to jump over that cover, use your fucking rocket boots to go behind enemy lines and mow them down in slow motion while you dodge missiles. That's Vanquish. It's fast, it's smooth, and it's like crack to me. This full disclosure,
Yeah.
Vanquish is arguably like my favorite game. It's up there.
Okay. Cool. And well, that's why we wanted to play this. Vanquish. You've reviewed Vanquish before
Yes.
on a separate video game related show. It's above me.
Why is it above you? Here, wait. Can you animate that?
Nope.
No, you can't?
Nope.
Fuck YouTube.
Can't.
Not even scratched. You did get some training in this thing, right?
Our simulators are very thorough.
I never played it when it originally came out, so it came to PC. Hey, this is a great opportunity. I'll play it. You'll play it, and we'll.
So we know what I think of Vanquish.
Right, you fucking love.
Huge recommendation.
Yeah.
I'm mostly curious what you think about Vanquish.
I didn't much care for it.
Why the hell not?
All
right.
Yeah, for many reasons.
We have a fast-paced shooter. And we've played a fast-paced shooter on this show before. You love Doom.
I love Doom. Doom's
Doom's
great.
a fast-paced shooter.
Doom was wonderful.
Why doesn't Vanquish work for you? And yet Doom does.
There were a couple mechanics in Vanquish that I felt didn't flow well together.
Okay.
I loved rocket booting around and I loved slow-mo, but of course, using your rocket boots and going in slow-mo all deplete your overheat meter, right? And so you couldn't rocket boot around that often and you couldn't get in slow-mo that often. Also, I felt that the level design wasn't very intuitive or open, so I never really knew where the enemies were coming from, and so most of the time was spent frantically looking around for where I was getting shot from, and then I'd try to rocket over to them, and then they would hit me and I'd die, so I always found it more advantageous just to stay behind cover and shoot them. And there was no motivating reason for me to leave cover. And so the rocket boots, I actually found myself just using them to rocket from cover to cover. And unlike Doom, there were no health pickups. Health only regenerated when you weren't getting shot. So if you did get shot...
Doom was brilliant with that.
Doom was brilliant with that. And so, like, if I did get shot, you go behind cover, and When you want to regenerate your slow-mo, you go behind cover, and when you want to basically do anything, you go behind cover.
So you spent... you have a game where they give you rocket boots
Yeah.
and time slowdown powers, and you spent it hiding behind cover? I know exactly why Jack didn't like this game. No, I know exactly why you didn't like this game.
It didn't jive for me.
Because you were playing it like Gears of War, and this is not Gears of War.
Everything about the presentation of the game led me to cover, and I tried no cover, and I died over and over and over again. And I tried using my powers and rolling, and it didn't work.
Sam, back up. You're moving too far.
And then all of a sudden, I'd stay behind cover, and I'd get done with a level. Everything about the game design led me to cover.
Okay. To me, this is like you order, you go to like a fancy restaurant, a really nice restaurant, and you order like just a prime porterhouse steak, just prime steak. Then they bring you the steak. Then you say, you know what? Bring this back to the chef.
Yeah.
Have him grind it up into hamburger meat. Put it on some Wonder Bread and a lot of ketchup.
Yeah.
And then when they bring that back to you, you take a bite and you say, "Oh, this is horribly bland." You didn't eat the steak, Jack. You had the Wonder Bread.
And to me, the steak didn't present itself.
Here's where I will kind of side with you.
Sure.
Kind of side with you.
Yeah.
I've heard people bitch about this game before who don't, well, not necessarily bitch, people who didn't get into this game.
Yeah.
And I think it was for the same reason. They tried to play it like Gears of War, and they played it like Gears of War, and they thought, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
If I could change this game, and I were platinum, I would make the cover destructible. If you hide behind it too long, I would have enemy fire just decimate that cover.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, they could have forced your hand.
They could have shown you a better way. Something that I really enjoyed, and it didn't happen too often, is there were some levels that incorporated your rocket boots into the levels. I'm thinking specifically the lights. You remember you had to like go through the tubes before the light went through?
Oh, yeah.
And so
the laser, the big disintegration ray.
Exactly, and so there's almost these puzzly elements where you get to use your abilities outside of combat.
Yeah.
And I really liked that, and I was kind of hoping there'd be more of that. Just to reinforce this whole movement, fast, rocket boots. To me, it had more issues than positives. I thought the enemy variety was incredibly weak. You're fighting the exact same robots over and over again.
That's a fair point, but I love those robots so much. Their animations and their design. I love the way they look. I love the way they move.
But it's the same shit for 8 hours, you know, however long
When they
the
get their
game is.
legs blown off and they skitter towards you.
I thought the level design was so samey that I was never sure I was progressing. Everything was chrome boxes. It's just, and I get it, we're on a space station, but every area looked the same.
Yeah, but there's some minor variety. There's minor.
Yeah.
Minor. There's like one nice little wooded area, but I mean, that's not a big a problem to me because this is like, it's like a 6-hour game.
Right.
6 to 8 hours. And so you don't need to switch it up that much because you're going to get bored because this is a fast-paced game. You're in constant action throughout, and it's short but good.
I think part of the reason why game designers vary up enemies and vary up level design is to help players feel like they're progressing. And you don't really feel that in Vanquish. You're always in the same area, always fighting the same enemies. Sometimes there's more of them, sometimes it gets harder. Every once in a while there's a boss fight, but I never felt like I was getting anywhere until I was at the end.
I felt like I was having fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't about progression, it was about this combat is highly enjoyable, and I can do this all day.
I just didn't feel it.
That's fine, and that's you. That's fine. That's fine, Jack.
I didn't feel it. It's the problem with expectations.
Yeah.
This game has been built up to me for years, Rich.
That's on me. That's my fault.
You've mentioned Vanquish in a dozen episodes at least.
I love it.
I
love it.
I know you love it. And so to me, I was ready to experience this amazing hidden gem, and it was just all right. All right. It's just there's nothing special about Vanquish.
Except for the rocket boots and the smoothness.
That don't really serve a purpose because you don't really need them.
The best boss fight in any shooter, Bogie, Zaitsev, the main bad guy in his red suit.
Those are fine.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite boss fight in any shooter. Usually, shooters like to throw in like the big dumb tank.
Sure.
The big dumb tank that's slow and it's got like the chain gun that keeps firing. Vanquish is a boss that's just smaller and maneuverable, and this is a perfect boss fight for shooter because you win by aiming fastly and accurately and not just chipping away at the health on the big thing. It's my favorite boss fight in any shooter. He's got those little grenades he throws out, and you got to use your time powers to like shoot them in midair before they go off. Oh, fantastic boss fight!
Or you can just run away from them, like this.
You play the game wrong, and then you say it's horrible.
I play it. Oh no,
I'm
sorry, Rich.
So wrong.
I'm sorry, Rich. I'm playing it wrong. Is that your argument? So everyone who tells you've played a game wrong, they're correct. Is this the precedent you want to start?
In this instance, in this particular instance, you are playing the game wrong, Jack.
If I saw,
I'm not saying this criticism's wrong, because like I said, when I've heard people bitch about Vanquish, they're playing it like Gears of War.
Because the option is there, and if they wanted the experience you're talking about, they should have better tailored the game to push the player in that direction.
Okay.
And so I found it super underwhelming.
I'm not gonna say that you're not allowed to feel that way.
Good.
Look, I got my Vanquish on PC. I can finally play Vanquish with fucking mouse look.
Yeah.
I am happy.
Okay.
There's no way you could possibly rain on my parade.
Great.
I don't give a fuck about the story. Like I said, it's
Oh yeah, no. The story's worth like it doesn't matter. Like you go, literally the entire story is go blow up a thing.
it's adequate and slightly psychic with its, U.S. president and collusion with the Russian government. Okay, I'm not getting into it. But it's weird how prophetic this game from 7 years ago is.
Boom, 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 boom.
They just got the winner wrong.
$10.
Can we talk about just the mouse for a bit?
The mouse.
How did you feel about using a mouse in a third-person shooter? I hear a lot of people on the internet talk about mouses not being good for third-person shooters, and I don't understand why they feel this way. And I was wondering if you had the same feeling at all, by chance.
I felt pretty great about it. It was like a shooter. It was like a shooter would be. I play with a nunchuck.
Yeah.
And so I had my nunchuck and my mouse, and it felt great. Like shooting over, like I'm more of a machine gun kind of guy.
Yeah.
Shooting
Yeah.
your machine gun felt pretty great.
This game's got 3 different machine guns, Jack.
I know it does. No, I think actually a mouse might have hurt Vanquish because it made some sections just way too fucking easy. There's this one on-rail sniper section.
Oh, yeah.
Where you need to sniper spotlights before they see you. And I hit them so quickly that most of that time was spent twiddling my thumbs.
That was never too hard, though, even with a controller.
Sure.
Do you have any thoughts about the length? Because that's something people might complain about.
The length, it's very short.
Yeah.
It's very short. I'm a notoriously slow gamer, and I think I beat it in 7-8 hours.
Yeah.
It's a very short game.
I know you didn't like the game that much, so this doesn't really apply to you, but
Yeah.
like for me, I will take a 6-hour game that the gameplay is like really fun, and I want to replay it like a whole bunch of different times over a game that's like 35 hours and playing it gets to be a slog near the end, and I never want to touch it again.
It's like the 40-hour game distilled to only the good parts.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
there's not a lot of fluff. So $15-20 for what most people can consider a solid 6 to
Right.
8 hours with replayability. To me, that's fine. Let me rephrase that. To me, $20 for a solid 6 hours is fine.
Yeah.
Though I didn't think it was a solid 6 hours, so I don't think it's worth it.
Is this very uncomfortable for you?
What?
This is, my favorite game, and you just have to be like, I thought it sucked. Is this how uncomfortable?
Oh no, not uncomfortable at all, because we can have different opinions. It's strange to me because we do end up agreeing a lot. Like there's some games that we just don't. Like I also didn't care for XCOM, and I know that's one of your favorite games. But to me, that's a genre difference where I might not be into that genre. This is a genre I'm kind of into, but I just didn't like the gameplay. So it's not uncomfortable. It's just weird because sometimes we can agree on stuff.
Okay.
But I'm sure there's games I like that you didn't much care for. Like this one? I'm not even going to tell him what it is because it's just
I know
gonna
what
get
it
him
is.
upset about. What?
Firewatch.
Oh.